Good morning, everyone. So, the topic today is chaos is in the air. With any story that has a dramatic ending to it, whether the ending is a terrible ending, whether the ending is a beautiful ending, we human beings tend to romanticize those endings. And I think that's something noble in the human spirit, to want to see it as more iconic, more symbolic, more of a metaphor or a representation of this bursting thing we call life. And today, I don't want to put that part down. I want to rather enter into the reality on a different level. In chapter 26 in Matthew's Gospel, the chapter is actually called, the heading above it in some translations is called The Plot Against Jesus. And I'd like us to take just a moment to let that settle in on a very human, practical, physical level. That here is this person who's going around speaking truthful words that are more oriented towards compassion and kindness, doing deeds that are uplifting to human beings. That part of that person's storyline is that a plot comes into reality. Not just gossip, which can be very hurtful. We've all experienced that. Not just betrayal. We've all had that happen. But actually, individuals gathering almost on a righteous, venomous way to make a plot. And it brings tears to my own eyes to even enter into that level of the storyline, to realize that people actually got together and said, this person needs to be killed. Not this person needs to be stopped, or we need to make sure people know this person isn't God, or nothing that was striking out against just from a non-murderous standpoint, but that actually the final verdict in the animosity that's growing among whatever leaders. I don't want to pit any tradition or any kind of leaders. And certainly within the group, there probably was argument. I mean, we have a story of Nicodemus, one of the higher ups, standing up for Jesus in secret. So I'm sure that it wasn't a universal, unanimous felt decision. But nonetheless, it was a decision. It was a turning point where the thoughts, we went into thoughts 2 days ago, where the thoughts that were negative and contracted manifested into form, moved into a plan. And as part of that plan, and we don't really, again, know all of the reasons why, and I'm assuming there's truth in the story. So you don't have to believe that the story of Jesus is true. I do, though I'm not Bible-based, and I don't know that I'm Christian anymore. I do have a deep relationship with Jesus and experience the story as true. And we have within this same chapter somebody who's very close to Jesus making a decision. He must have felt like he had no other option to actually go to leaders and make a deal, right? The Judas. And Judas has become a word that's synonymous with betrayer. Even if we betray ourselves, we're a Judas. within our own lives and our own stories, what plots come into form that sabotage the truth in our lives? What patterns that are diminishing of our spirituality come about that almost become a plot? Some of the fruits that can come from that, whether it's an outward stance against someone or something, or whether it's an inward limiting belief. When our thoughts create a pattern that have us take a stand. Some of the fruits inwardly, since we're on a spiritual development path with this series, some of the fruits of that would be the guilting that we have developed inside, the shaming, the inward blaming, all those different forms. Self-judgment, I think, is a very small word in comparison to that. But how easily plots can arise against our own selves that we don't even feel like we can feel compassion for what has just happened in this storyline with Jesus, a plot. And there is kind of an illusion that Jesus is aware. And I think there are many times in our own lives that we are aware. I have had significant moments when chaos is in the air and I can feel it. The virus right now is one of those things, right? There's chaos in the air. And it's hitting the underlying, the underbelly in each person. For those who have a strong inner freedom in their spirituality, it's not hitting the fear and survival chords as much. For those who have banked on their ideas of security in this world, it's hitting the fear chord more. Chaos is in the air. And interesting that right now in this ancient Christian tradition, that is exactly in Lent. This is the exact time, the week before the crucifixion, that the chaos in the air, that just the rumblings and the disenchanting words that are spoken about Jesus have formed into an entity with a plot. Chaos has come into form. So we're paralleled. The virus is paralleling this very ancient collective conscious tradition. And so where are you? Where are you with the chaos that is in the air right now? And could it be that this storyline of Jesus can be a way to orient and harness the compassion at your center? To think that a human being that was innocent, which happens all the time, but here we're talking about Jesus, that a human being that was innocent is now a target for a plot that is destructive, where unawareness and ignorance and darkness, I hesitate to use the word evil, because even the plot came about out of a desire to protect something that they thought was good. But the unawareness to see their real motives so that they could assent to the truth that sets them free, limited them. Where are you in your compassion for the chaos that is in the air? And where are you with the parts of yourself that are Judas-like? Because we all rationalize to fit in, cognitive dissonance, and all sorts of other ways we move away from the hard truth that in our humanity, that even though we romanticize it as a beautiful, dramatic story of standing up for truth, that in the hard reality of it, we have been betrayed, we do betray, and right now, the collective is going in and through chaos and being called not to betray the essential nature that can let us come through the other side. So let's enter into today's devotional, which is going to be 100% acceptance. Acceptance, not bearing with, not perseverance through, but acceptance of the chaos that is in our air right now. And that this story of Jesus lets us enter potently, perhaps. So I invite you to close your eyes. And I invite the presence of Jesus even more strongly. Both the historical framework of the moment that happened around a week before the crucifixion, the plot, that historical air, if you will, and also the present, eternal reality of the Christ presence. Let's invite in that presence. And let us stand with open acceptance, allowing this presence that we are and is in our midst become even more acutely aware of the chaos that is in the air right now. Our world, from this position of vulnerability yet ultimate strength, open yourself with me to accept the chaos that is in the air of our world. And touch within yourself the quality that you have that could be labeled compassion. First, focus your compassion upon the historical story of Jesus, an example of someone innocent doing great things, betrayed and unseen. And now orient your compassion to the humanity of our world that is now in a place of chaos, largely chaos, yet where you and I come from a place of deeper presence, not consumed into the chaos, but rather present as divine in human form. Let that compassion move through you for all humanity. Could be in the form of a silent prayer, or in the form just simply of unconditional acceptance. And let us, as we begin to end this devotional, accept that one of the hard realities of our humanity, because we're still in the process of awakening, is that there are moments of collective chaos. We are still in that level of fear. That's a hard line. And let us make a commitment today to notice ways we betray ourselves. Any ways, small little threads, where we move one step away from our truth that's just between us and the divine. It will never be between us and a person or the collective. And with that, I invite you to open your eyes. And right before we end, I want to add in one thing, just in case you're going to invite others to the Triduum experience that I'm crafting. I had a sad thing happen yesterday that one of our subscribers hasn't been attending or listening to the recordings because whenever she saw the word Jesus, she assumed that it was Christian, which kind of surprised me since this person knows me and knows the breadth and universality of my spirituality. Just to remind that while we use a context of any context, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Mother Teresa, whatever context we may use, the storyline is simply intended to let us touch the wordless essential nature of who and what we are. And I believe wholeheartedly that it can be potent during certain feasts to take that particular storyline, not as the story, but as a symbol of the underlying story. So if you are inviting anyone to the Triduum, it will be drawing upon the deep event oriented betrayal, death, loss, new life, the mystery that happens in all our lives. But it's not limited to a Jesus Bible based spirituality. It is rather so that that can be broken open and seen just for what it is, and another construct that lets us touch truth. So make sure in your verbiage, if you invite anyone, that you let them know that I'm not Bible based Christian. So, anyway, have a great day. Blessings. I hope to see you tomorrow.